The importance of the Fathers. These early Christian authors are important because they provide an authoritative view of the life and teachings of the Church in the period immediately following the death of the Apostles. St. Ignatius was the third bishop of the Church of Antioch, the church where Christians were first called Christians. He learned the Christian faith from the Apostle John. His flock had learned the faith from the apostles St. Peter and Paul. St. Clement was the third bishop of Rome, where St. Peter and Paul also lived and taught. St. Justin the Martyr taught in the imperial city. Thus, those who heard and read them and read their writings learned the faith from two leading apostles, or from the students of the apostles. St. Irenaeus was not self-appointed, like the leaders of the heresies he opposed. He was the leader of a very important local church in Gaul. He was also a student of St. Polycarp, the bishop of Smyrna, a pupil of the apostle John. Clement of Alexandria and Origen were highly respected teachers and scholars and one of the most important centers of intellectual activity of the ancient world. St. Hippolytus was an influential theologian and important witness to the worship of the ancient church. Thus, from them it is possible to determine how the apostles organized the church, how they worshipped, and what the doctrines they taught. It is reasonable to assume that any of these early theologians had departed from the practice of the apostles, the community of believers would not have accepted their authority or treasured and preserved their works through the centuries. The writings of the Fathers also show that the beliefs and practices of the Church in the era after the Apostles was remarkably uniform throughout the known world. Because of their role in the formation of Christian theology, early Christian writers are called the Fathers of the Church. The Orthodox Church does not consider any father infallible. Some of them, Origen, for example, combined great insights with ideas that would later evolve into heresies. Some were men of great intellect who made major contributions to the understanding of the gospel, but could be very unchristian when involved in controversy with those whose ideas they considered a threat to the integrity of the doctrine of the Church. When studying the Fathers, Orthodox Christians look for the consensus of the Fathers to discern the mind of the Church. In Orthodox thought, no individual father or theologian has special authority over the other fathers. Instead, the works of the Fathers taken together are important because they illustrate the mind of the Church. Orthodox theologians also consider the historical context of the Fathers and how their work has been interpreted by the Church through the centuries. None of the Fathers tried to be an original thinker. They based their work on the Holy Scriptures and the theologians who came before them. No true Christian theological work is an original creation. To be authentically Christian, every discussion of the doctrine must faithfully adhere to the Bible and the deposit of faith and worship inherited from the apostles and preserved through the centuries. Because their works have withstood the test of time and have inspired generation after generation of Christians, the Fathers are the most authoritative Bible commentators of all. They were much closer in time and thought to the authors of the sacred text than any modern scholar could ever hope to be. They understood the nuances of the Greek language far more accurately than a modern scholar because it was their language, not a foreign language that they learned in the classroom. The Fathers expressed the insights of the Scriptures in the language of Greek philosophy, because that was the language of all intelligent discourse of the time. However, they did not Hellenize the gospel. Instead, they Christianized Hellenism. Significantly, every time that some thinker compromised the gospel by surrendering to Hellenistic philosophy, the Church rejected their ideas. There were major differences between Christian thought and Hellenistic philosophy. Hellenism believed in the eternity of matter and rejected the idea of a creator God, one of the central teachings of the Hebrew Scriptures. The Greek philosophers did not believe that history was moving towards a climax. However, Christians taught that history is moving toward the second coming of Christ and the end of the world. Finally, the ancient Greeks considered the body inferior and were horrified at the Christian belief in the sanctification of matter and the resurrection of the body.